Hey guys, Chef Ro here. Today we're going to make crepes, technically pronounced crepe, but I'll get over it. I've already made the crepe batter. It's very simple, just pop it into a blender. If you don't have a blender, then what you need to do is mix the dry ingredients, the flour and the salt, and then you mix the wet ingredients, the eggs, the milk, the melted butter, and you need to pour it in as slowly as we did with the bechamel. Or else you'll have lumps, and lumps are the enemy. And if you do mix it by hand, my strong suggestion is to then even strain it through a fine mesh strainer before you use it, because if you get a lump in your crepe, it's not like a pancake, it actually will be a problem. Then you have to let it sit for at least 20 to 30 minutes in the refrigerator, because this is actually twice as thick as when I first did it. The reason why is because science, the moisture is going to fully penetrate and swell the flour molecules, and if you don't let it rest, you won't get that happening, and it's not going to be the correct consistency. So I'll show you the consistency it should be. It should be pourable easily, but see, it's not completely water. You can see there's some texture to it. Now I know you see some little spots in there. I'm doing something different with these. I'm making a chamomile flavored crepe, so it has a little bit of flecks of chamomile in there, and that's why. You can put some sugar in there, even though it's not in the recipe, if you want very brown crepes, but traditionally they don't have it. And in fact, my crazy Frenchman will tell you that if the crepe is brown, it's burned. This is the French way of doing it, but Americans do like their crepes brown, so if you want to cook yours all the way to brown, that is your prerogative. The hardest thing about cooking a crepe is the temperature control. So you need a non-stick pan or a crepe pan, which is usually a carbon steel pan, which requires a lot of maintenance. You got to keep it seasoned, etc., etc. And when you buy them, they're coated in wax so that they don't rust. And then you have to pre-season them. It's a process. Okay, or you can just use a non-stick pan. The problem is with this straight-sided of a pan, you're not going to be able to flip it. You're going to have to use a spatula or something like that to flip it. Now, the tricky part is that you need a little bit of butter in the bottom of the pan, but if you have too much butter, it's not going to work. So you just need just enough to coat the bottom of the pan. So the way we do it in the industry is we take a piece of butter and we wrap it in plastic, because then I can just go like that, and then I have exactly enough to coat the bottom of the pan, no more. Okay, temperature control is going to be really key here. If your pan gets too hot, it'll burn. If it's not hot enough, it actually makes it stick. Now, unfortunately, all I have is a really big ladle here at home, so you don't need, if you have a really big ladle, you don't want a full ladle, and you're going to pour it in the center. And see how I'm twisting the pan very quickly, and see how it kind of stuck to the pan as I go. If you had too much butter in the pan, that wouldn't have happened. Now this is actually almost even a little too much batter. You should be almost able to see through the crepe, technically speaking. Now see how it has officially all set up. Everything is set up here. The edges have come apart away from the side. So now you give it a little flip, and that is it. Okay. Now this is already cooked, so I'm going to take it out. I'm going to put it on my plate here that I have waiting for it, and I'm going to show you how to do one more. Okay, again, small amount of butter. Now you can see my pan's getting hotter, so I'm going to turn down the heat just a little bit. Okay. Small amount of batter right in the center, and turn. I keep that ladle there in case I didn't have enough in there and I need to add just a touch more wherever it is needed. Okay, let it sit here. Now, the thing about crepes is that they actually freeze and refrigerate okay. They'll refrigerate for about 3 days. They'll freeze beautifully for months. But what you want to do is, if you're going to make a bunch of them, because this is a process, right? And so it doesn't take long to make 2, but you've got a lot of batter, and it's really hard with 5 eggs to cut that batter differently. So what you want to do is take a piece of parchment paper or something, plastic wrap something, and put it in between each crepe. Stack them like that, put them in a Ziploc freezer bag, pop them in the freezer, they'll stay in there for at least a month. And then you can just pull out as many as you want, let them thaw. This is one time that thawing on the counter isn't the end of the world. You can let them thaw, and they take about 10 minutes at room temperature to thaw, or you can pop them in the microwave, something like that, and use them. The nice thing about not putting sugar in these, see, beautiful on both sides. The nice thing about not putting sugar in these is that you can use them for savory or sweet applications. It's just a neutral blank slate. Okay, so go make some crepes and send me some photos.